Okay, alright, so we are on, and that's my notes. That is my notes over many years of adding different things.
So you just pick the best one.
I need to put this into an antique library soon because I've used it so often and I've just kept adding to it. So,
Wouldn't it be easy just to put that out there?
And a lot of it's in shorthand and stuff that I understand that is, it'd be a bit confusing, I think. And it's not as clear to follow what goes with what. So, this way. Okay. All right, so we are looking at our second stanza, and I'll make this a bit bigger for you, I think. And how's that? Is that good? Yep, okay. Let's look at this stanza. 1:30, the street lamp sputtered, the street lamp muttered, the street lamp said, regard that woman who hesitates towards you in the light of the door, which opens on her like a grin. Yesterday, we're talking about the sound of spitting that we had created there and that sense of disgust that the street lamp is conveying about this woman in the door, and it's meant to be, this tawdry image. Now, I'll just put these brackets in properly. So there's an idea here that the street lamp, especially in this stanza, can act as a phallic symbol. Do you know what a phallic symbol is? It is a particular type of sexual connotation, a dick. So, a penis. A penis, and so an erect penis more specifically is a phallic symbol, and so the idea is that this as a phallic symbol could be the idea of male power and certainty before an unpredictable female figure is what I've got here. And I think, how when we were looking at one of the other poems, and I think it was Grace who suggested that there's potentially the condemnation of the man who has been the reason why the woman has, lost her way. And so if we think about, if it's this phallic symbol of a man who is giving this condescending, disgusted spitter, oh, look at that woman, there's that idea of the, I don't know, what would you call it, of the contradiction of a man who would be critical of a woman who was a prostitute when the people who go to her as a prostitute are men. So you know how there's that quandary of the criticism there? So we're just going to put phallic symbol. A phallic symbol of male power and certainty. Hold on, T-A-I-N-T-Y, sorry. Now, I've got unpredictable female figure here in my original notes, but I don't know that I like the word unpredictable. Maybe unknown or ambiguous, or maybe unknown. Female figure. But we're already set up to think of her in a negative light because of the muttering and the sputtering and that idea of the spitting.
Can you take it as like she's not interested in him, like people start right straight and
Yeah, it could be.
A woman who hesitates, so she's not interested in him.
Yes.
Like, he's looking at her like that, and I'm like, why would she?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it could definitely be. Regard that woman who hesitates towards you in the light of the door which opens on her like a grin. So maybe, if we think about that, it could be like that whole incel thing. The
What does incel mean?
isn't that the involuntarily celibate thing?
Oh yeah, okay. It's like a short thing of involuntary.
Like, you know, it's only been a term in the last few years, I think. Like, it's pretty recent, and it's part of the manosphere, isn't it? That, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
I know what you mean, but
I know what it means.
Yeah.
I just don't know how it got there.
Halfway through it.
Okay, so if you think about the notion of incel, right? And so a man who considers himself to be involuntarily celibate, because it's not that he's celibate by choice, but that he just doesn't have anyone to have sex with. And so, but the term incel comes about, from my understanding, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, because he then blames women, like it's the women's fault that I'm celibate, and so the anger is then directed at these women who won't have sex with him.
I swear there's a word for that.
So
it's Incel.
Like
What is his problem, but then he blames it on someone else?
Midrum.
It's all my brother.
And so that it's like this misdirected anger that is then not taking any ownership, but then looking for
He's just looking for an outlet.
But then the complexity of it being around then blaming women. So if you think about the already marginalisation of women, and especially, I mean, if you think about this time in Rhapsody, it was, really before feminism had gotten a foothold. I mean, it was just starting, the feminist movement, but women had only been free to go and, seek out opportunities and education for a very short amount of time by the time this poem was written. And so if it is a woman who has got some sort of autonomy and is perhaps rejecting the man, and then we have the man like spitting out this condemnation and this criticism of her, because Eliot himself, when he was at the Sorbonne in Paris when he was I think he was only 20, he wrote this letter to his mate saying how it really bothered him that there were all these women at the university just coming and going and being free to do whatever they wanted, and he didn't know how to handle that because that wasn't what he was used to. Yeah, and so it I think it perhaps challenged him or confronted him or unsettled him that suddenly women were acting like they were equal. And so if we think about that we know about Eliot himself, and then look at something like this and go, well, it really could be that there's disregard for the woman here because she's threatening his sense of masculinity.
So he's projecting.
Yeah.
Most that's made sense so far.
Yeah, I actually understood that.
So now what was I writing? PE. What was I writing?
Oh, that celibate but shortened one.
Incel. No. Maybe I was writing perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Don't write incel in your essays though. Perhaps.
Involuntary celibate.
No. Perhaps because that's like a very recent term. Let's go with a criticism directed at female autonomy. So autonomy being you're in charge of yourself and you can do what you want. And so for women to be suddenly in charge of themselves and able to access things that they hadn't been able to previously, that threatens, for some men, it threatens their sense of masculinity. Okay, threatens a man's sense of masculinity. Because then he says, regard that woman who hesitates towards you in the light of the door which opens on her like a grin. And that sounds awful there. Like, a grin can be a good thing, but here it just sounds wrong. Yeah, it sounds creepy. You see the border of her dress is torn and stained with sand. And you see the corner of her eye twists like a crooked pin. Yeah, and so there's a few things we can write about this. It's widely written, like in a lot of the critical literature that's out there about this poem. It's widely written that this is referring to a prostitute.
What colour is that bit? Is that brown?
Yeah, a prostitute. Well, I guess all of this, like talking about the woman. Yeah. So a prostitute. Or a low-class woman.
Do you just collect pens?
Yeah, I've got a bit of a problem. Yeah, pens and it's not normal. Right.
Gold's pretty. I'm on bronze at the moment. So I don't quite know. Prostitute or low class what?
Woman. Oh, sorry. And here which opens the light of the door which opens on her like a grin. So this simile here has got a what did I say? What did I say a minute ago? Did I say a
Unsettling?
yeah? It's
What does that even mean though? Opens on her like a grin. Is that
okay. So I think literally, if the door opens and then the light comes on her like a grin, but it's like a
It's just like revealing.
yeah, actually, because it would reveal her, wouldn't it?
What is it written down?
So it's a simile. Unsettling.
Visual, I can see pictures.
Yeah, never can be
Movie or something? Oh, wait,
So maybe it is unsettling image, the light revealing her. If we go along with this idea of the symbolism of a male and the street lamp being that phallic symbol, it could be that the door opening on her, if she's a prostitute and she's going to enter someone's house, that grin could be the grin of the man who's about to engage in her services. So the
you know how before you were saying that he's like one judging her, but then also one like going for the service of a prostitute? Is that the same person, and then that's just their two like thoughts, or are we like?
it could be.
So that
I think that it's not necessarily like one identity. I think there's this collective nature of what's going on, and so on the one hand, it could be the man who is looking down on the prostitute, and he's all high and mighty, and that's disgusting. And on the other hand, there's the man who is critical of women because he himself can't get anyone to have sex with him. Yeah, so it's more of that bigger society. It could be the man who has employed the prostitute, who's grinning in that really sordid, gross way in what is about to occur. And so, in just an attempt to sum that up a bit, if we say it equals the sordid nature of humanity and human desire. Because I think, like Eliot himself, and obviously when we've got the poetry, there's personas and they're imagined, they're not necessarily T.S. Eliot himself. However, we know so much of him is in his poetry. And so there is that line there. But Eliot himself was very, because he was very conflicted about this idea of sex because of his Unitarian upbringing. And when he saw the freedom that especially in the 20s, that modernism brought, like think about The Great Gatsby. If you watch The Great Gatsby film, the one that I've got the poster of up there, Great Gatsby is a novel that was written in the 1920s by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It's really, really famous. And then in 2013, Baz Luhrmann, who directed Romeo and Juliet, the music one that you would have watched in Year 9? Yeah, so Leonardo DiCaprio's in Great Gatsby as well. And so he then created The Great Gatsby and kind of did this recreation in a very similar way that he did Romeo and Juliet. And it shows how loose the morals were and how people were just going after whatever they want. It would actually be a really good one for you guys to watch just to get a better sense of what was going on in the 20s, because a lot of that is what we're seeing in Eliot's poetry. And it's an interesting watch, like you could just watch it in the holidays. And so in that sense, he was looking at all these people being really loose with their morals when he'd come from this Unitarian background, and he was so conflicted about his own sense of religion and morality and his opinion on that in others. So I think he's giving a lot of criticism around what other people were doing. But at the same time, by this time Eliot was married, but for a long time he was without anyone. And so he would have had that, I guess that not jealousy, or maybe jealousy, that fear of missing out, or that he felt that all of this was happening for everyone around him but not he himself. So it's easier to criticise. Yeah, it's easier to criticise people who are engaging in something that you wish you were part of but you're not. So it's easy to sit back and go, well, I wouldn't want to anyway because that's whatever. So all of these kind of ideas, I think, are mixed up in what we're seeing here with this really negative light about this woman, because the idea of the border of her dress, it's torn and stained, and think about that word stained. It's this stained with sand. So has she been at the beach or somewhere with someone doing something in the night, but it's ended up with this torn and stained, so this broken, the staining of the soul, the staining of her identity. So maybe the broken and stained soul, or morality. We also have an illusion here. You know how we had conjuring proof rock, the jolting of our memory for divisions and provisions, and then again with, what was the other one? Revisions and provisions, and there was another one where we had conjuring proof rock, wasn't there? Oh yes, the street lamp sputtered, the street lamp muttered, and to spit out all the buttons of my days and ways. And here, stained with sand, I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling along the floors of silent seas. so the imagery of the ocean that we get in proof rock, and then we've got the sand imagery here. So sand, and remember, this is a poem all about memory, so this conjuring our memory of proof rock.
So that way you have to read it in chronological order.
Yes, absolutely. It's really important. And you see the corner of her eye twists like a crooked pin. Eyes are a recurring motif for Eliot. In The Hollow Men, which is a poem that comes next, he uses eyes a lot. The eyes are not here. I'll show you actually, because given that it's our very next poem in the suite. Well, actually, I said before, by this time he was married, but no, this was 1915, this poem wasn't 1917. It's the next one, but it's a bit later on. So let's just put recurring motif. And of course, it's the synecdoche. What am I doing? That's not useful. Synecdoche, sorry. Is there a C there? I can't remember. I think that's right. Synecdoche of that use of I, because just like we're recalling proof rock, when we go into Hollow Men, we've got those who have crossed with direct eyes to death's other kingdom, and eyes I dare not meet in dreams, there the eyes are, and here, the eyes are not here, there are no eyes here in this valley of dying stars. And then the eyes reappear. Well, think about what eyes symbolise. They're the windows to the soul. That's how you tell when a kid is lying. That's how you you get to know someone. Think about, there's like therapies that couples can do where they have to stare in. Oh, isn't that a maths thing as well? One of the challenges, stare into each other's eyes for 5 minutes or something.
Like bio.
Maths. Married at First Sight. Did any of you watch Married at First Sight?
I couldn't tell you. Oh, like, yeah, it's like intimacy or something. Like
Yeah, and they've got to stare into each other. Like, that's a common couples therapy thing, because it breaks down barriers. Like, if you have to stare into someone's eyes for an extended period, it's really quite confronting, but it can also break down barriers. These guys are just going to do it and tell us they're having a little social experiment over here. And so the eyes are where it's like, you know how people will say, oh, look at his eyes, he's a sociopath. Or if they see photos or an interview of a serial killer, and you look at their eyes and people say there's nothing there, they're dead inside. And so people judge a lot through someone's eyes, don't they? So here we've got the corner of her eye twists like a crooked pin, and the word twist is about to reappear for us a couple of times, especially towards the end, where we have her hand twists a paper rose and the last twist of the knife. So we're going to circle twist as well, and
Is that the same as the recurring motif in Susan?
as what, sorry?
As the eyes?
Yes. Because let's actually identify where it is. So we've got it here, twists. Then just go to the next stanza, and we've got a crowd of twisted things. and we've got a twisted branch. And then on the next page, we are just going to circle here. Her hand twists a paper rose. And the last twist of the knife. So we suddenly see that twist is a recurring motif repeated. And so we're going to write recurring motif for twists. Now, and we're going to write something about twists. So twisted in his mind, where's my glasses? In his mind, the perceptions of a seductive female who could comfort him in his loneliness, and a whore who could cost him his self-respect. Right? And so then, like that quandary of the contradiction of she could be this or she could be this, that kind of inability to settle on the one identity and wishing for one over the other, especially if, you know, a prostitute she's a woman doing a job, and so any feelings that she might convey to the man who's hired her, they're not authentic. That's because what she's been paid to do. And so that could be part of the idea of twisted, like she's here and giving me what I want, but it's not real. I'm paying her. Let's write this down the bottom here. Sorry?
Would he prefer his wife to be a prostitute?
Does he have a wife? Is the persona?
If he's so mad about them not having feelings, would you prefer your wife to be one?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, there's not
If
a.
they're prostituting herself, would you prefer her to be doing that?
That's what I mean. There's no kind of logic to it. It's the way our mind can like mess with us in that way.
Well, isn't it like when she's like, you see the corner of her eye twist, isn't that like her kind of turning on that like personality?
Yeah, it could absolutely be. Twisted in, I'll put the persona's mind.
So do they even really want the prostitute for the purpose of the prostitute, or just the company?
Well, that's the question.
Or that's
Yeah, that's exactly it. Who could comfort him in his loneliness, and be a whore at the same time. Like, he can't. What's the quandary? There's a sociology term for it. The quandary of man wanting a cook in the kitchen and a whore in the bedroom. Have you heard of that before? There's like a whole sociology study around it. There's lots that's been written about it, about how that can be something that for some men is really complicated if they feel like there's this maternal view of women from their mother who was loving and took care of him, and then along comes the wife who is loving and takes care of him, but then wanting that horror in the bedroom that doesn't align with the vision that he might have of female identity, and having a real complexity with seeing a woman that he loves and respects in both lights. And
So he's having issues seeing both in the one person?
yeah, potentially. Or even
Like Freud was saying, like with your mum. and
Yep,
you want to see
yep,
your parents.
yep, it's very Freudian. Exactly. What's that?
Your mum and your sex partner should not be the same thought.
I know, and that's where the issue is, that if there is though that man who associates, like especially, you know how, especially traditionally, in a traditional relationship, and this was still, even though women were starting to get a bit more autonomy, it was still a very traditional time. And so the traditional role of a woman was to take care of her husband in the same way that his mother had taken care of him. So then there's that complexity of having the mother replace, and so if a man was to move out of the care of his parents' home into the marital home, and suddenly his mum isn't there anymore, but he has his wife who's fulfilling that role because she's cooking and she's cleaning and she's taking care of him. Can you see how that would mess with your mind a bit? And so, but I think that happened I don't think it was that uncommon, especially at this time when traditional roles were really prominent. And I've read studies about it being an issue for men, for some men still today, when they've got that traditional function of the wife as the mother and the carer, and they go from their mum to their wife, and then suddenly it's all a bit messed up in their mind. Less common now.
Like, surely you know I'm not your mother. Sorry.
But it's hard with what your brain does though, isn't
I
it?
know, I feel like you can tell the difference between your mother and your wife. I feel like that's insane. Because I understand. I think we're all with you there. Imagine a girl married to the same thing.
Yeah.
When you
Oh,
about
yeah.
the communication,
Yeah.
it's called the Madonna.
Oh, the Madonna complex.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I knew there was a term for it. It's called the Madonna complex. Yes, that's it.
Did you search that up or did you just know that?
Yeah, no,
I was like, sorry.
no.
I wouldn't know that.
It's because the Madonna. I mean, you think of this, the singer Madonna, but Madonna originally is referring to it's a Christian term, a religious term for a pure woman, isn't it? Madonna? Just Google Madonna and see what the original. Yeah, the name Madonna is a religious name, and that's why over in
I keep thinking it's a singer.
yeah, well, over in countries like I think maybe Sicily and like the Madonna is a fairly common female name, and it's just in Western society you don't hear women named it. I think because of the fame of Madonna, the singer. Like it'd be like now you wouldn't name your kid Kanye, would you?
Oh, hell no.
Like, I mean, he's got a lot more negative connotations. I don't mean that, but names can be taken out of society because of a very, very famous person,
Yeah.
good or bad.
She was the Virgin Mary.
There you go. She was the Virgin Mary. So Madonna was the Virgin Mary. So
Was
Jesus's,
she Virgin Mary?
yeah. So Jesus's mother, the Virgin Mary, because she got pregnant without having sex, so she didn't have to sin to get pregnant.
I'm not going to ask, I'm confused already, but yeah.
This is
Why
religion.
was she at? You know how Jesus came back and got put in her belly with
I didn't know that she didn't have sex though.
No, she didn't have sex. She was only 16, and so she didn't have sex and was suddenly pregnant. So that's when people say, what do they say? It's not like if a girl is pregnant, she goes, but I didn't have sex, and it's like, well, you're not the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
And so the
What was her parents' fault?
So is
the
that why it was so because like it just like happened and he just kind of like appeared?
yes, and see, and Joseph, who was her husband, I'm not sure if they were married at the time. I don't think they were married yet, that they were going to get married. He is considered like to be really honourable because he believed her. He didn't question the fact that she was suddenly pregnant, and then she said, "Oh, I'm pregnant with the Son of God, but I haven't cheated on you, I haven't had sex," and then he stuck by her side, and then she went and gave birth in a manger. You know that song, Away in a Manger? It's don't you guys know the Christian hymn, Away in a Manger? I'm not going to sing. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed.
Yeah,
The little Lord Jesus lays down his sweet head. So,
I can picture the scene. Don't worry, I can see it.
I've literally got like a little
Yeah.
see, and all of this is actually really relevant because the final poem that we have is Journey of the Magi, and that's the story of the 3 wise men who journeyed to see the baby Jesus after he'd been born in the manger. And so they took along gifts of frankincense in gold, frankincense and myrrh as gifts for the baby Jesus, and they had to follow a star to get to the birthplace of Jesus.
Oh.
I love your reactions. Let's just finish this. Could cost me self-respect. That's the end of this bit here.
I used to read the Bible. I used to be like a fiction Bible. No, I read every time and read a book, I read the Bible. I don't know why.
What's this on?
I'm like a fiction, but like the Bible.
Okay, now on to the next stanza. We've got the memory throws up high and dry, because remember we're talking about memory here, and at the start we had the dissolving memory and the kind of the quest that he's trying to get his memory back. So midnight shakes the memory as a magnet. Remember that from yesterday? So here we've got the memory throws up high and dry a crowd of twisted things, a twisted branch upon the beach, eaten smooth and polished, as if the world gave up the secret of its skeleton, stiff and white, a broken spring in a factory yard, rust that clings to the form that the strength has left, hard and curled and ready to snap. Alright. Now, here we've got the memory as opposed to my memory. And what that allows for is it creates this sense of memory as being disjointed rather than being part of a whole, like the memory, like that little bit of memory. Now, what do you think? Now, what does this give us in terms of one of those things that the modernists did heaps? It's all through Eliot's poetry, when we've got lots of little pieces that have been broken apart, and it starts with F. What is the word?
Fragmented.
Thank you. Fragmentation.
I'm missing whole something. Oh, just a line. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know what time, but I'm just curious about.
Now, what the memory is throwing up, so here, the memory throws up high and dry, a crowd of twisted things. So instead of there being this nice sense of certainty around the memory, so do you remember me yesterday saying sometimes you're trying to remember something, you're like, oh no, it was, and you can't quite get it, and it's right on the edge, and you try really hard. Here, the memory is throwing up a crowd of twisted things. So it's like snatches of memory, or these snippets, or these bits of memory that are perhaps more frustrating than anything because they don't actually result in a clear sense of what he's trying to remember. It's just little bits and pieces. And I guess I think of it like someone who has really significant PTSD and they've been through an event where they've actually blocked out that memory because it was too traumatic, but then they start getting flashbacks, little bits of the memory. Like if you've seen movies and things or read about where that can occur. And so if you think about it like that, then we've got the sense of the fact we've got a crowd of twisted things. So, and twisted, like none of them are good. He's not remembering little bits and pieces that are great. We might actually put like flashbacks. Flashbacks to repressed memory. And this gives us insight into the mental state of the persona. And these are the things that the memory is throwing up, all of these twisted things. A twisted branch upon the beach, eaten smooth and polished, as if the world would give up the secret of its skeleton. When we have the twisted things like this here can also be considered to be a religious illusion. Alluding to the crown of thorns on Jesus' head when he was executed.
Because it's twisted?
Yeah, so they got a row of thorns on a thing and twisted them around so that it was just then a crown of thorns. So it's the twisted things.
Did he put that on?
No, the people who were executing him put it on him.
You know who was that from the cross?
I knew that, and Rose was in the cave, and he left the cave.
Maybe it resurrected him?
Yes.
On the third day he rose again.
My mom's side, just so every time we go see them, they're always trying to recruit.
Just tell him.
And the only purpose of a crown of thorns is to heighten the pain that someone is going through. So the death that was inflicted, like the crucifixion of Christ, was incredibly painful because you're nailed to a cross. So you've got these massive nails going through your hands so that you're hung there, nails through your feet so that they're secured, with a crown of thorns cutting your head, and you just are there until you die eventually. And so it's horrific, torturous way to die. And that is the suffering that Christ endured to save us from our sins. So, thanks, Jesus. Now, all of this here, we've got sibilance happening again, eaten smooth and polished as if the world gave up the secret of its skeleton, stiff and white, a broken spring in a factory yard. So this sibilance kind of goes through to the end of this stanza. Let's, what colour am I going to use? So even here, I think that it starts with the twisted, like, because we've got that S sound there. Twisted things. A twisted branch upon the beach, eaten smooth and polished, as if the world gave up the secret of its skeleton, stiff and white. A broken spring in a factory yard, rust that clings to the form that the strength has left, hard and curled and ready to snap. So, sibilance. And all of these things are, I mean, we've got the personification of the world here, because as if the world gave up the secret of its skeleton. So the personification of the world with this sibilance now, it's all death imagery. So obviously skeleton, something that's eaten smooth and polished. So the waves eating away at a branch until it's smooth and polished. The skeleton is stiff and white. A broken spring in a factory yard, rust that clings to the form that strength has left. Now just think about this image. It is a spring. So think of a spring, a big spring, that was once used for something. It was once had purpose. But now it is broken and it's just in a factory yard. It's rusting, and the rust is clinging to the form that the strength has left. So it used to be this strong spring that had a purpose, but now it's broken. And so the strength has left. Now it's just rusty and it's hard and curled and ready to snap.
So even though it's an object, it still die in a sense?
Yes. Yes. It's like that, it's very much like that end of death, or that end of life, where everything has become so bleak and dire and you're ready to die, like ready to snap. So there's a couple of things here that we can attribute this to. So let's start with a broken spring in a factory yard. That can also refer to like be a metaphor for the human souls and values. So you know how he sees that morality is broken and values are broken? So if the broken spring, if that's humanity with the broken morals, and the factory yard is now our earth, like our life, then we can say that there's metaphoric reference to so that places the factory yard as being the world. So the world that once produced people who were able to live their life and then go on to heaven, but now the earth is nothing but something that is a factory. It's commercial. It produces things and spits them out. And that's all we've got time for. So we've got this little bit here that we'll add to.